a song for you.
You're listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I will do one episode for each song the band recorded in the studio. However, this is a fan podcast and not band endorsed. It's more of a tribute to their long history, well beyond just the hits, and my way of giving something back to a band that has given so much to me. Let's dig in! Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. We are currently in season 27. This is episode 4, covering the song The Lunatic. No, I do not feel attacked. This was the one song that, while it didn't stand out to me in the way that like Nothing at All or, Portable Door or something did, it did stick out to me in the way that I found the technical side of it interesting. At least that's what I remember from the first couple of listens. So I'm going to be curious to see how I feel about it as I dig in a little bit more. I have kept to my promise. I have not listened to any of these songs more than twice. So I will be able to give an even view of each song instead of, I only listened to the first ones a couple times. By the time I get to the last song, I've heard it 10 times. Nothing like that. Everything's 2 listens and digging into the review. So I'm excited to get to it. Let's do that very thing. Here it is, Deep Purple on their new album Splat and the song The Lunatic. It's definitely an interesting riff. I've not heard anything quite like that before. I like where the keyboard accents are. Love the blend. Again, the keyboard and the guitar blend on this album is really making me happy as an audio engineer and just as a listener. But I do find that the rhythm guitar is a little bit similar to Arrogant Boy. If I remember right, I think it's Arrogant Boy. Just that, sort of thing to keep that motion. Again, it's not a gallop, but it has that, very similar feel to it. I really like this. 19 seconds before the vocals come in, which is about standard for a Deep Purple track. And, sometimes they've gone a little earlier in recent years, but that's, within 20 seconds is about right for vocals to start. But it's got a good groove to it. I mean, right off the bat, I'm like, this is making me happy. I see a lot of musical possibility. I also like the fact that they did go beyond just the repeat of the first part. They actually go down in pitch and then come back up again and do that full cycle before the vocals start. I think there's a tendency to just kind of jump in and add that later sometimes. So I like that they just added that now and gave us a lot to work with right off the bat.
There was a time I liked him, now I don't know what to say. But when I see him coming, I just look the other way. He's dangerous. There's a sparkle in his eyes when they should be done gray.
Is it just me or is there a slight bit of flange on the vocal? It could be that it's doubled, and sometimes doubling, if you do it a certain way, I don't actually know the logistics behind it, but sometimes when you double it can create a flange effect. And sometimes you just put a flange effect on there. I don't know. The vocals do seem a little bit thick, which sounds great. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the drums. I feel like the snare at times it kind of pops and cuts through, and sometimes it sounds a little bit flatter. I don't know if that's my imagination. That's certainly possible, but I feel like it should really like thwack on a song like this. Like you got a nice big punchy kick, and if I'm not mistaken, he records with a sometimes a 22 or 24 in the studio, I think, to get the extra punch. And then he uses the bigger one live, the 26, I think. I might have that backwards, but that makes more sense to me because it would be harder to capture that on a 26 in the studio. But I just feel like the snare, it's there, but I feel like if it had just a little more of a thwack to it, would really punch up the song a bit. But I really dig what I'm hearing. Yeah, I think this was the section where I was like, wait a minute, what are they doing here? This is a little bit different. I mean, not totally out of their zone of something to do because they've done these little, progressive type parts before, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more straightforward of a song. So this was a nice little surprise and unexpected, but I really liked it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the part I was like, wait a minute, this kind of stands out to me a little bit. I like the fact that they change it up between the snare and the bass drum. I think that's a really good idea. If it's just, it keeps it from being copy paste if you're just doing the same thing on every pass. I can hear Roger coming through a little bit, but again, he's playing like really low register and his bass has just got such a deep grind to it. I really love the sound, but I'm always hoping to hear a little bit more of that neck work, like I've talked about in the other episodes already. But it's nice to be able to hear his presence. And there definitely is a low end tone to this album so far, which I find interesting. And I do think that Roger's bass has a lot to do with that, just because of he's not venturing away from that section too much just yet. And that, when you do, you lose the low end side of things. And then if you don't, then you get all low end. So I think that's kind of where he's at so far for the most part on this album. So it's going to be interesting to see as we go on song by song the way he plays. But either way, I mean, the sound on the album is really good. I actually kind of like the darker low end overtone to it. I think it fits the music really well. The guitar's got a great distortion on it. I like that. The drums sound good. And, Ian in fine form as always. Ian Gillan in fine form as always.
Layer of confidence goes out on his own. Has a very few friends and doesn't use a phone. Mysterious. Thank God the law is watching now. They'll drag him from his home.
I'm really back and forth on whether there's a second vocal track on there. There's a couple things you can do. I mean, one, you could sing it and then learn exactly what you did and sing it exactly the same way, or you can just learn it line by line, because in the studio you can do whatever you want. You could also just copy it to another track, pan it slightly, put a different effect on it, like maybe the flange is on the second track. The second track is a little quieter, but it blends just enough. But I thought, and it could be a delay, but I thought I heard just like one slight discrepancy in timing at the end of that line. So I'm honestly not sure. It could be anything. Either way, the vocal sounds good, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. How they got there is irrelevant, but as an engineer, there's always that curiosity in me when I hear something, and I swear to God, I'll forget about this in 20 minutes, but I'll listen to it and go, now I'm kind of wondering how they did that. Did they use method A, method B? Did they do something completely different? What is going on? And then curiosity goes away, and I'm like, don't even remember that it even occurred to me until like a year from now. I'll be listening to the song and go, wait a minute, how did they do that? Did I ever figure that out? My brain has got to be the strangest thing. I mean, it really makes no sense sometimes. Like my logic makes sense, but how I pivot in interest, how quickly things just like are curiosities. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't really care that much. It's not that big of a deal if I don't ever find the answer to this. With bigger things, obviously, like how the pyramids were built, that sort of thing, like those things will never go away, but they're much bigger issues than how Ian Gillan recorded his vocals on this song. But I do like the dramatic up and down in pitch during the verse. It really fits, because I think it's a little bit lower than they would normally go. And I could be wrong on that. If you were to look statistically at the notation, I could be wrong, but it feels like they're just going a little bit further than normal. And if you look at the title, the feel of the song, I think it really fits. That actually can work on a couple of levels, but I really, again, this is another song that just has great motion to it. I like that chugging guitar, just keeping things going along. The accents on the keys are great. It's just a really good feel to it. really dig this part. I'm going to be curious to see if they expand on it a little bit later, where maybe Ian Pace opens up a little bit, or there's a little bit of difference in guitar or keys, or maybe Roger comes up with something, or if they just kind of repeat this the way it is later on. It's a cool part, but I feel like we're going to get some variety in it because that just feels like something Deep Purple would do. We will see.
Once he was a lovely lad, compliant and tame. Something must have happened to turn him insane. He lost his way, and now he's been grown. He's a lunatic with a mind of his own.
I don't know why, but for some reason, that last line felt a little Frank Zappa-ish to me. Maybe from the song Catholic Girls. I don't know, but for some reason it just kind of reminded me of Frank Zappa a little bit. I love this part. Again, like these middle sections that they're doing in the songs have been absolutely wonderful. They're completely different, but don't really take away the momentum of the song. Sometimes I feel when people put them in, there's such drastic changes that it feels like they've, you flip the track into a different song. But here on this album so far, and this is 4 songs in, every one of these has just felt great, and I'm really enjoying the writing and the smoothness of the transitions. This is some killer work from Don that it's hard to hear the real dynamics of what he's playing. I played it back a couple of times, and honestly, I don't know if it's the brick wall limiting, because again, that's what everything is nowadays. As I'm looking at the waveform, it's just 2 solid bars. I mean, you're not even seeing the dynamics in the waveform. But I do feel like the drums are kind of killing the keyboard solo a little bit. They're nice and bright in the mix. They're powerful. They feel good. I don't mind loud drums at all, especially being a drummer and being a big fan of Ian Pace. But whatever instrument is solo should be in the foreground. And I feel like this is just buried a little bit. I'm getting a lot of the rhythm. Simon and Roger, sounds like they're doubling each other from what I can tell. And it sounds great. But again, just a little bit loud maybe while Don's soloing. Everything else should be kind of drop down just a little bit to let that solo really cut through, because you can tell he's playing the hell out of the keyboard, but I feel like we're missing a lot of the notes in here, and that's a real shame, because I mean, how do you not love a Don Airey keyboard solo? The guy is just absolute fire. So again, I mean, and it's not the fault of any performance on here. I think it's just an unbalanced mix, which I'm kind of surprised. Once I listened to it, it sounds a little bit different when I'm recording the listen and then I go back and listen to it. There is a little bit of difference in the EQ in my system, because I'm listening through 2 different things. I'm listening initially through my music player on the computer, but I'm recording it into my DAW, or digital audio workstation. And as I play it back, it's changing the sound a little bit. But I noticed the same thing on exactly both plays. The keyboard is a little bit buried. So that would be my only complaint, really. As far as the song and the performance go, I love it. I love the transition that we just started to hear into what's going next. So I'm going to back it up a couple seconds so we can hear that again as we flow into the next part. And I think flow is really the right word. We get a nice little burst of tone from Roger there, which was really nice. Nice technical part. Kind of felt, I don't like to compare songs, but it would be hard for me not to compare that to the end of Must Be Hey Cisco, I want to say. Was a very similar. I know it was something off Perpendicular. Off the top of my head, I want to say it was Hey Cisco. But really cool part. The band is so tight. And considering, this is only Simon's second album, they have toured extensively with him. So they played together a lot. You would expect there to be a lot of connection between the members. Everybody else has been playing together for a long time. So I just feel like everybody just feels so comfortable. And I don't know what the studio sessions were like. I haven't watched any videos or anything, but I would imagine that it was just a very relaxed writing session, technical side and performance difficulties aside, because some of the stuff might be a little challenging. I just feel like they're so happy and comfortable working together, and I mean that is just going to create good music.
Once he was lovely like a lion to tame. Something must have happened to turn him insane. He lost his way, and now he's full grown. He's a lunatic with a mind of his own.
Yeah, I just love the way that part sounds, and then just that little lick from Simon at the end of that is really nice. It's interesting. I wanted to mention though about the keyboard solo from a performance standpoint. It seems like they're really carving out room to feature everything. They're not doing a lot of changes underneath solos or underneath the vocals. They're really just kind of carving a lane for the instrument that's supposed to shine through. And I count the vocals as an instrument. Allow it to really shine through. Whether the production is coming through and taking advantage of that is a different story. But I feel from a writing and performance standpoint, they are definitely doing that. But I like that we're getting just that little lick from Simon. We're so used to hearing, or I'm so used to hearing at least, this kind of stuff going on behind a verse. Like Ian sings a line, there's a little lick. Ian sings another line, there's a little lick. Or somebody does something to, just kind of change it and have the song evolve along the way. And I haven't seen as much of that on this album so far, but this little lick just makes me happy.
It's not as if he barks under a waxing Jewish moon. It's another kind of madness, same old words, a different tune. Scary. Not long before the ministry is bursting his balloon.
Yeah, it sounds great, but I just kind of feel like that last verse is missing the fire that we usually get. There's nothing added to the last verse. I would have expected, Roger to come in with like a or just some kind of little flourish or accent or something, and I'm not really hearing that so much, which I don't know if I'm missing something buried in the mix or what it is, but this is a little bit abnormal for the band. I think that's just going to take a little getting used to, because they've been able to do that while still carving that lane for the vocal to come through, to have those flourishes underneath of it, but not, distract from Ian, to really just enhance the feel of the verse. And I feel like these songs are great, but they're not doing that normal ramp up that we get for the end. So I'm finding that very, very interesting. I wonder why that is. And that one I probably won't stop wondering about. But in any case, let's see where the song goes next. We are down to about 25 seconds left. Well, another setup for that concert ending with a cymbal ring out. Don't know about that. Obviously, I mean, this is another one that could translate to the stage beautifully. I would not be surprised if they do this one. Yeah, it felt a little bit copy and paste, to be honest. I was looking for something a little more exciting musically. I mean, they've got this great setup, but they don't really go anywhere with it. They just kind of repeat the parts and then end it. I do feel like they did add one thing in that last section, though. It sounds like it started with a keyboard or a pad maybe that was there, or maybe it was a chord on the Hammond. But the flange started to come in, a little bit of that swirling effect from the organ, and then it seemed like it crept into the guitar a bit. Can't tell if it came in on the bass or not, but that was kind of nice. I thought that was building to something, and then they just ended it. So A little disappointed in that. I think what we've come to expect, and again, not that they can't divert from what they normally do or what you'd think they would do. So no shade to them, but I just knowing the history of how they work, I was just expecting something a little bit more in the way of a build. But I really like the parts. Love the way Ian sounds on this. Love those touches of flange that we get. They're not overbearing by any means. They're very tasteful. So I would still say good song, thumbs up. I'll definitely enjoy it many, many, many times over. No doubt about that. But just not what I expected. So that is a 100% me experience that I'm just sharing with you guys. Kind of like the way that I hesitated before I started listening to the album. And to be honest, when I started recording the episode for Arrogant Boy, just at the part where I was going to start digging into the song, I just held off for like another hour. I was like, am I really ready to do this? Am I ready to change my ability to just enjoy this music and start digging into doing critical listens this quickly? And, I committed to it and I'm following through with that. But I did have a bit of a reservation, but I'm glad I'm doing it because I think when I'm able to just shut my brain off and just go back to listening to these songs and not have to worry about, oh, I should talk about this or that was interesting. I should remember to mention that. As I'm doing casual listens, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can take this off of my mind and I can just go back and listen to it as an enjoyable experience, which is, I'm sure, what I will get many, many times over because I will listen to this album many, many times. But overall, I mean, it's a really good song. I do think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity not to maybe grow that progressive part a little bit, do some different things with it. But I will say if you're planning on taking that on stage, it is less to have to remember, or maybe that's the goal. Maybe they are going to open it up a little bit on stage if they even do the song. Who knows? I'll look forward to seeing the show and finding out either way. But I think this is a cool tune. I think it's got some really great ideas in it. I think it does suffer a little bit from mix issues. But overall, it's a really cool track. So, we're 4 in. I'm 4 thumbs up. So I am pretty happy. But to be fair, I did say at the very beginning of episode 1 of this season that there is not a bad track on this album. There really isn't. As I'm doing this, more nitpicky review, and that really is what a critical listen is. It's very nitpicky. It's getting down into things that you might really not even think about if you're listening casually. But as a musician, as an audio engineer, and as a composer, I do find it fascinating to dig a little deeper into the songs and see what they're layering in and see how they do things. But yeah, 4 out of 4. This is a great song to end the week with. So I look forward to recording some more of these episodes as we make our way through Splat. And I hope that you guys are enjoying it too. In the meantime, you guys all have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday for song number 5. And that is, see, I don't even have these tracks memorized yet. That would be The Only Horse in Town. Cheers. Thanks for listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, a tour of the entire Deep Purple studio recordings. Please remember to give the show a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment and tell your friends. I also have a Patreon set up if you'd like to support the show. You can also write to me at smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode and thanks for listening.